We might have just gotten our very first leaked gameplay screenshots of Pokemon Winds and Waves, and it looks like this is in some kind of a battle sequence with the trainer and the starter Pokemon. We got one with Brout, and then we also got what looks like some kind of overworld gameplay with Pombon here, so we've got those to break down, and we've also got some other news and info related to Pokemon Winds and Waves to break down as well. So a bunch of new stuff to talk about in this video. But real quick, before we get into it, I'm trying to get to 30,000 subscribers on the channel, so if you guys don't mind helping me out, I extremely appreciate all you guys. But anyways, let's get into it. Alright, so the first screenshot is this one here, and it looks like this one is taken from some kind of battle early on. Maybe it's even right after we pick our starter Pokemon. You guys can see, obviously, Brout is here with the trainer, so, you know, usually in Pokemon games, you got these same type of battles early on, right after you pick your starter Pokemon, and usually it's against a rival or something along those lines. So I would imagine that this screenshot is probably taken from something like that, you know what I'm saying? But as far as this being legit, I think there is a pretty good chance. The source is coming from a leaker that other leakers say is legit, so I think we could definitely at least give it the benefit of the doubt, but definitely take all these screenshots with a grain of salt, because it's not like people can't AI generate this stuff. There is actually a lot of people accusing this of being AI, so definitely don't 100% count on these being real, but I think at least with a lot of these, there is a pretty good chance. And then we've got this screenshot right here, which it looks like, again, this might be some kind of a early on starter Pokemon selection screen or something like that. We got Brout, Pombon, and Gecko all in this picture with Pikachu here, and then something that's redacted, which I'm not sure. Maybe that's a new Pokemon, maybe it's some kind of a character, maybe even that seed legendary Pokemon that we heard about, like the one that we're supposed to raise from the start of the game. I'm not entirely sure, but in this picture, we obviously have the starter Pokemon. And you guys can see in the background, like, the waves in the ocean and kind of just the overall terrain, like the trees and the plants and all that stuff. All of it definitely matches up to what we saw in the trailer. One thing I would say, though, is that it's a little strange that Pombon's tongue isn't out, but I guess it is possible that it could have just been, like, one frame where he closed his mouth or something. I'm not sure, but overall, this is definitely feeling like there's a good chance that it's on the real side. I think there's definitely a chance that it's fake, like I said, but I think this one definitely does mostly check out. We got this one here as well, which kind of looks like maybe it was taken like directly before the one I just showed you guys. Like this right here is the main starter selection screen, and just like the last one, we got Gecko, we got Pombon, and then we got Brout on the side. So yeah, overall, man, hard to say if this one is real or fake. Just like the last one, the waves and the water definitely check out. The beach and the plants and the terrain, everything definitely looks pretty legit here, but there is always that chance that it's AI or something like that. And then here we got a few different ones, and this looks like just some random overworld gameplay, and it looks like they chose Pombon here for the starter. Pombon definitely looks like it's pretty big next to this trainer, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like for a starter Pokemon, you'd kind of expect it to be a little bit smaller than that, so that part is definitely pointing to the fake side. I guess there is a chance that Pombon could just be a really big Pokemon for some reason, but we don't usually see that with the starter Pokemon. But if this is real, man, I think that's cool that our Pokemon follow us in the overworld. I know a lot of people love that feature. It's been something that people ask for in every single Pokemon game ever since Heart Gold and Soul Silver, so just seeing it possibly being back in Pokemon Winds and Waves definitely makes me pretty happy to see. We also got this part here where the name of Pombon is kind of redacted for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but there's not too much to say about this one, honestly. Just looks like a standard overworld screenshot. The grass kind of matches up and the textures and all that stuff. But this one on the right here, I definitely think is a little bit fishy. We got some kind of weird spikes on top of Pombon's head. Maybe that's just the tuft of hair or whatever that is, but I don't know. That part definitely feels like it could be AI generated. We also got something else that's blocked out in the corner here, which, you know, maybe there's some kind of new Pokemon that they're trying to hide from the Pokedex. And I guess that does make sense. I mean, if this is actually coming from a real inside source, it would be pretty risky for them to kind of leak new Pokemon that haven't been officially revealed yet. But obviously, pictures of Pombon, I mean, the Pokemon is already officially revealed, obviously, so I guess even if we didn't have these pictures to reference, we can kind of picture just how the gameplay would kind of look with Pombon as a starter. So I don't know, guys, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. What do you guys think about these screenshots? Comment down below if you guys think they're real or fake. I'm kind of on the fence, to be honest. I think there's a lot of things on them that definitely would line up with them being real, but then also there's some things that are a little bit fishy about them. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. This one here definitely screams AI. You guys can kind of just tell by the Pombon text here. It looks just kind of sloppy, I guess would be the only word for it. Also, just like the X even just looks a little uneven. And then you also got this here, which is kind of crazy. The arm is actually coming out of the skateboard here, which, you know, hopefully this trainer's alright, man. Unless it's just like the angle, maybe. I guess it could be the angle, but I don't know. That part right there is very fishy too. I saved this screenshot for last though, because this one was definitely the most fishy out of all the ones we saw. So yeah, like I said about the last ones, let me know if you guys think this one is fake. I feel like there's like an 85% chance this is fake. Unless they took this picture from like a more unfinished build or something like that, I guess it's possible, but I just really don't think that's the case. I think this one here is most likely AI, but let me know what you guys think. I feel like we're gonna see a ton of these pictures that are comparing the graphics in Scarlet and Violet to the ones that we saw in Winds and Waves, but when you see them side by side like this, it is a very, you know, crazy difference, crazy improvement that they've made on the graphics of Gen 10. Like, you guys can see, the water obviously looks fantastic next to this top one here. And not to mention even just the textures of the cliffs and stuff like that, the trees, everything in Winds and Waves just looks so much better than Scarlet and Violet, which is definitely great news for this game. I just made a video talking about how we're definitely going to see a lot of improvements with stuff like the performance of the game, the FPS. All that stuff is going to be way better in Pokemon Winds and Waves because this game's going to be in development for almost double the amount of time that Scarlet and Violet was. So I think just based on that alone, you can definitely assume that this game is just going to be so much more polished. But like I said though, just based on the stuff that we saw in the trailer alone, I think the difference is like night and day. It's insane to see just how much they've been able to improve everything. So I'm super hyped to play this game. It's definitely going to be fun to play a fully optimized 3D Pokemon game on the Switch too, and one with really good graphics as well. Because so far, if you guys really look back on the Pokemon games on the Switch, we really haven't had anything quite like this. I feel like the closest one was definitely Legends Arceus, but even then, there was still so much left to be desired, at least with the graphics. So yeah, man, I'm hyped to play this one. We've also got a really interesting theory from Soul Silverard on what Brout's final evolution could be based on. So he says that I think people are running away with Brout staying flightless. It's not impossible, but he's constantly flapping his little wings and jumping like he wants to take off, which he definitely was in the trailer. So that's a good observation. Then he says, also not a single bird starter has flying type, which again, that's something else that I honestly hadn't really noticed before. Obviously, Rowlet did start off as a flying type, but you guys know Decidueye becomes a ghost type, and then Quaquaval here is a fighting type, Blaziken is also a fighting type, and then Empoleon is the steel type. So it is possible that we finally get our very first flying type bird starter Pokemon in Gen 10. And I thought this theory that Soul Silverart came up with for the animal to base Brout on works pretty well. So he says, I'm pushing this because Brout is just a chick. It could become any bird, but there's a lot of different hints, one of them being a nocturnal / owl influence. I still think it could become a great-eared nightjar, maybe frogmouth mix, who literally camouflage themselves as leaves / trees, which obviously that would 100% fit well with the grass type. So that would definitely be pretty creative on Game Freak's part if they do decide to base it on this bird. And then it says a sprout chick that becomes a literal tree bird that is also a fierce flying nighthawk full of energy at night. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the coolest animal concept that I've seen for Brout so far. Shout out to Soul Silverart for coming up with this stuff, man. He always comes up with some really good theories for all kinds of stuff, Pokemon, stuff for new games. He also came up with a bunch of cool stuff for Legends EA, and now he's gonna be cooking up some good stuff for Gen 10. So yeah, like I said, man, shout out to him. And also let me know down below what your ideas are for Brout's final evolution. But I definitely think it's gonna be either a fighting type or a flying type. I feel like those two are definitely the best fit for now. And one last